Hello, IGN. My name is Jose Otero, and you are looking at Pikmin for Nintendo 3DS, working title. That's not the final name. And this was the most interesting image to me of the footage that Nintendo showed right from the bat. Just the idea that, first of all, this is a Pikmin game for 3DS, so it has action taking place across two screens. But when you look at it, you are separating your troops across those screens, and anyone who ends up on that top screen, you can't really influence what happens up there. Like, it's not a touch screen. You have to kind of react to it or plan for it. Over here, this is not the best example of that. This is simply these guys are carrying this trophy out, but you're getting a good look at the UI. You're getting a good look at the separation in general. And what the heck is this golden fruit slash tulip looking thing? We're not entirely sure. More importantly, let's look at the UI and what that stands for in a little bit. Right now, I want to rewind and go back to the beginning of this. And obviously, the first part of the footage that Nintendo chose to show, you have your ship, which this sort of looks like the Onion ship or the previous ships that have dropped off Pikmin in prior games, but here it's simply dropping you off. Now, if you've played the Pikmin games, you know that the stories usually follow this space captain named Olimar, who ends up stranded on a planet that he doesn't know what's going on. And it's usually a survival race to kind of get off this planet. Now, Nintendo hasn't talked about story, but what they have said is that this is an action title. But from the footage we see, it does retain a lot of the Pikmin-esque elements. So first, I do want to focus on the UI, but we're going to rewind just a few seconds here to show this frame specifically. So Olimar is wearing some sort of jetpack looking thing, and there is a button that pretty much looks like the same exact object on his back, minus the two flares, the cones coming out of the two, what we hope are like thrusters. But we don't know what this does in the entire span of the footage that they showed. We have no idea what this is. We do know what it is, though, on the right there, the whistle. The whistle is usually used to call Pikmin to attention, to bring them to you. But then I chose this frame because we have these three floating, again, I don't know what, are they strange fruit, golden acorns? I have no idea. But it seems to be an important collectible, and we're going to get to that. So here you have, blow the whistle, you summon the Pikmin. A little unclear to me if Pikmin are just hiding in the world or in patches like that, because usually you see these stems that are basically the top of the red Pikmin's head that you would pull out, and instead you're sort of just summoning them with a whistle. And this could just be early footage of the game. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't make it clear one way or the other how you'll know where Pikmin are hiding yet. You'll see here a simple Pikmin-like puzzle. If you played Pikmin 3, very familiar, and it does give you your first look at how the controls are going to work. Basically, using the stylus, you're going to tap a spot where you're going to throw that Pikmin, and then they will automatically sort of pick up the closest thing to them. Noticeably, I would imagine that then you're holding, your 3DS with your left hand, and that you'll be using and moving Olimar using the analog slider over on the left. And who knows if the D-pad has shortcut buttons or what the L button does specifically, but picture playing this game the way you would Kid Icarus, or I'm not thinking of another great example. But that's at least what comes to mind for me. And so you'll tap, they will go up, grab these pieces, and solve the puzzle, build the bridge. You'll be able to keep going. You also have your signature, very alien yet familiar looking Pikmin enemies. Like this is some weird looking chicken, I guess. But you'll see that the health bar pops up the minute it gets hit. You'll attack by just throwing your Pikmin at it. Usually there are a strategy like rock, paper, scissors to it in terms of some are weaker in certain areas than others. For example, a Bulborb, you throw a Pikmin in his eye and that will wreck. And you'll see an example of that later. So here we've got what we were talking about at the start of the rewind, so the separation. This is also the first time they finally show you what this game looks like on two screens. And so we're going to pause here. So let's take in the UI. So at the top left, you've got Olimar's health. To the right of that, you have how many Pikmin are in your party. Per Schneider, IGN's GM, actually, we tried to count, and it is roughly 19 from what we can tell. Then you have this icon for what seems to be this strange fruit that you are collecting. No idea how that ties into your overall objective to leave. Usually in Pikmin, like in Pikmin 3, you were trying to get juice to basically save and feed your home planet. There's usually a very a survival element to some of these games. And then to the right of that, you've got items that we think that these two icons represent items that were already found in this stage, and the trophy is probably the third bubble in the center. So you've got an old battery, you've got, I don't know what that is. Is that a keyboard or a razor blade? The resolution's too low to really tell you one way or the other. Then at the bottom, I didn't mention this earlier, but in the UI you have a Pikmin button. It's unclear yet how you'll manipulate or swap between different colored Pikmin. For example, are you going to have additional buttons for each one, or are you going to tap and hold that, or does the D-pad work into that? It's still unclear. And then you have a very large version of what I assume is that resource again, that strange fruit or tulip or whatever it is. So let's just go forward from here. Pikmin still retain their properties, so you know that the red ones are fireproof. You know that the blue ones can swim, or actually they can't swim. But you know what? This is the first game where Olimar, in fact, does swim. Usually he sinks to the bottom like a rock and just walks along. And here you see for the first time Olimar can swim. You see blue Pikmin swimming with him. You see this big creature that comes out. But again, sort of, it seems to be this action game with a strategy element of some kind. And then you see puzzles like this, which you've seen before in Pikmin games, sort of using them to access areas. Here, very clearly, you need 4 Pikmin, to stand on that. There are 8 in his party. You can count there are 8 on screen, so that absolutely is the Pikmin counter up on the UI. And you move forward through that area. So here, you see an example of some of the puzzle solving. If you've more recently played Pikmin 3, you know how yellow Pikmin work. They can pass electricity through their bodies, and so you use them to sort of repair this circuit and power all of the lights in this area.
It's just you.
And lastly here, so this is the only example in the footage they showed of multiple Pikmin teams. Now you'll notice the yellow Pikmin button is there, but as he got close to the red ones, or actually rewind that, as he grabbed the vine, he can't order Pikmin around, and that makes sense. You can't throw them if Olimar is not in a physical position to do so. But the red Pikmin are pushing that rock, the yellow Pikmin go help, and you'll see here that he runs over to that moving rock. Now, Pear, again, suggested to me here that this might be a passage. Like, is that a secret entrance? Maybe you could pass through there to another cave where there's a resource or something. To me, that's interesting because your Pikmin couldn't come with you. So what would you do if that were the case? But it does look like a setup of you have a short window to quickly do something, possibly, or maybe it's just a background element. Like maybe we're overthinking it. I'm not sure. Right. So finally here, this thing took forever for us to figure out, and maybe you're watching saying, well, why is that? Because some of the red Pikmin are attached to these flying, I don't know what they are, but these insects, and it seems that were they taken? I'm not sure. They didn't show the frames before this, but you'll see Olimar throw his Pikmin to rescue them and to grab the pieces of that golden fruit, which sort of go into him and disappear. Like you don't have to carry those things around, but rather you're gathering them. So presumably maybe they're for that jetpack. I don't quite know. We joked that maybe that jetpack is an escape plan. Like the minute you get everything you have, you just and take off. No idea if that's one way or the other. And last thing on that frame actually is that the big golden fruit, you'll see it, or tulip or whatever that is, just slowly shrinks as he throws his Pikmin at it, suggesting that all the pieces have come out of it. Before I show, actually I'll let this show up to the insects. Again here, just a great shot of like how weird and how full of life some of these spaces can be. Also, just the way they're playing with scale and sort of hinting at the world, the bigger world around you. Even though it is a 2D game, I think they do an effective job of that. And you've got this big insect carrying more of the strange nectar-looking acorn thing that I really don't know what that is. And they popped into, they popped into little collections as he broke them. So there's that. Finally, you have a Bulborb, but you've never seen a Bulborb that big. I mean, so normally, like, Olimar doesn't just fit underneath one of these things. Usually, you can't really, you have to go around. You never go through. But you'll see here, that looked like a cutscene, but quickly, the team runs away. Bulborb comes out. Again, keeping that signature element of attack him in the eyeball, which you see him throw on there. And while he's stunned, run through his legs and get away. So that's your rewind/analysis for Pikmin for Nintendo 3DS. Again, the name's not final. Nintendo says this is coming out in 2017, so look forward to that. And for everything Nintendo, you're already in the right place at IGN.